The United States in 1862. Hello, Fletcher Elementary! You will soon have a visit to your classroom, and you need some information to be ready to impress the presenters with what you know. In order to prepare for the visit, we're going to cover 3 things from the year 1862. What was happening in the Civil War, the role of men in American society, and what the expectations of women in the United States were. First, let's start with the Civil War. The question is, why were they fighting? On your screen, you see an advertisement. This advertisement is to the people of Boston of color. It is warning the people of color that there are people who are coming from the South to try to catch slaves, escaped slaves. And what they were going to do is take those people of Boston back down south and sell them back into slavery. So, the Civil War, why fight? Let us start with the Civil War. In 1862, the Civil War was in its 2nd year. It was a war to figure out whether or not slavery would be allowed in the American South. The picture that you see here are slaves living on a plantation in the South. The South, called the Confederacy, had broken away from the North. The South was almost all farmland and wanted to make laws that allowed slavery. The South felt they needed slaves in order to work on their farms. In the North, President Abraham Lincoln, who you see in the picture, was trying to figure out how to win the war and get the country put back together. Even though the North had far more men and much more money, they were having a hard time winning battles in the South because the Southerners were fighting hard to protect their homes and farms. It's time for a review question. Let's see who can get this one right. What were the South and the North fighting over during the Civil War? It's time to cover the role of men in 1862. In 1862, the men in the United States were expected to be in charge of the family. It was the men who were supposed to be working to get money for the family. Men were often also the only people allowed to attend school and be trained for jobs. Men were asked to pay taxes, support the Civil War effort, and were the only people who were allowed to vote. On your screen, you see a picture of a very wealthy man who is raising money for his family. And at the bottom, you see a picture of a school. Please note, there are no girls in that school. It's time for a review question. Here's your question. What was the role of most men in the United States in 1862? The role of women in 1862. In 1862, women in the United States were supposed to get married, stay home, and take care of the home and the family. They were responsible for cooking, cleaning, and raising children. Many girls did not attend school. Women were not supposed to express their opinions in public, especially to men. Women were not allowed to vote in elections. On the screen, you see an image of a girl sewing at home. Time for review. Here's your question. What was the role of most women in the United States in 1862? Women push for change. The woman that you see in the image, her name is Susan B. Anthony. She's from the Rochester area, and she was one of the women who really started to change things in America. A few wealthy women joined groups looking to make changes in society. Some women, such as Harriet Beecher Stowe, wanted to end slavery and were called abolitionists. Others, such as the person that you see here, Susan B. Anthony, led the women's suffrage movement. hoping to get women the right to vote in the U.S. Time for our final review question. What changes were some women asking for in 1862?